All right, folks, welcome back to Nino's Corner.tv. A highly requested person is joining me right now on Nino's Corner.tv, Polny. And I had a hard time pronouncing it. I was like, 𝗵𝗲𝗿𝗶𝗀𝗍? He said, no, Polny. All right. So I appreciate you coming on. This is you were highly requested. A lot of people wanted me to talk to you. And I think this can make fluff tube. I think we'll make fluff tube with this. But first, folks, Keto with Nino. Keto with Nino, folks. Check this out. Countless of Americans struggle every day with managing their weight. If you're like most, you notice that it is easier to stay lean before the age of 20. Why is that? The answer is that because of after age 20, our body's metabolism slows down as much as 4% every decade. How do we combat this genetic pitfall? I'm personally a huge fan of using this amazing keto powder. It is being used as a weight loss alternative around the world. It works by increasing the level of ketones inside your body. Nothing has helped me manage my weight quicker or more effectively. Ever since I started adding it to my morning coffee, I began getting so leaner. Imagine how fit you look this summer by taking it. If you want an easier time managing your weight, you'll love taking this amazing keto powder. Get up to 51% off by hitting the link below, folks. Hit the link below. Keto with Nino. All right, Bo. Sorry about that, man. I got
actually, I used to be a doctor years ago. So ketos are actually really because it's ketosis, right? It's a Krebs cycle. So it's protein. So it takes 4 times the energy to burn a protein molecule than it does a carbohydrate molecule. So therefore, you're burning 4 times. So why you get thirsty when you drink a lot, when you eat a lot of meats. But the point is ketones. So when you're burning energy to burn the proteins, you're losing weight.
Do I need to pay you for that? No, I'm just kidding. No, but you know what? I do lose a lot of weight on it. I cycle on it.
Keeps
I don't
you
like
lean.
to stay on it too long. Yeah, I like to bulk up and then come down, bulk up, come down. But all right, Bo. So there's so much to talk about. I watched a few of your videos. I got my fingers on the pulse with you a little bit. Would you say you're a prophetic or you talk to God? What's going on here? What's going on here?
I love it. That's why I want to talk to you, because you know what? You're a lot of fun, and life's supposed to be fun. Okay.
Yeah.
There's no bad news in the world, as crazy as the world is. Yeah. And if you believe in God, God's got this, right?
Yes,
He's got it.
I agree.
So you need to have a good time. These are good times.
Hey, I feel like people like you and me were made for this time. I mean, to me, this is, let's enjoy the ride. It's a roller coaster. It's going to get crazy. What's the worst that can happen? You die? Well, hey, I've been there twice, and I'm telling you, folks, it's all good. I mean, I don't know. I'm not worried, man. I think, like you said, God's has a steering wheel.
Right. He's had this. That's what I've discovered years ago, what I started to do. So in essence, what I do, I started analyzing gold, God's money, Haggai 2:8, the gold and the silver are mine, saith the Lord. And so I started analyzing gold, the patterns, the cycles of gold. Lo and behold, this was like, 12, 15 years ago. I discovered that actually they have a pattern, a cycle to them. And then what freaked me out was when I discovered that gold and silver actually move with us. And if you read Daniel's pattern, so like in the Bible is the Revelation, is so like the 7 years of Daniel, that pattern is within God's money, gold and silver. So you can actually predict.
Okay, well, people are gonna be like, why does God need money?
Well, because that's a great point.
What's he trying to buy?
Well, and this is why God writes. God, the gold and silver are mine, saith the Lord. Everything is God's, right? But paper that we use today is not God's money, okay? And so what did they do? So it's a very good question you asked, because what did they do? It was the money system. It was the love of money is the root of all evil, right? So these evil ones, they created money out of thin air to enslave humanity. So that's the essence of what happened, right? So why do we need money? Okay, well, because you have to buy food. Because more importantly, like in God's first miracle, Jesus's first miracle, he took water, turned it into wine. But that wasn't the essence of it. He created more than enough. Okay, so in the biblical kingdom, there's more than enough.
5 fish and the 5 loaves of bread, he also fed thousands of people, right? So
right, exactly. Right. So when God intervenes, there's more than enough. Okay, and so what's Satan's agenda? to create poverty and create barely enough, right? They want you just over dead. They want you to have a job just over broke, okay? Everything about them is just over, just so you're not dead, enough to pay taxes, enough to buy their pharmaceuticals, just enough, just barely alive, barely afloat. So why do they do that? Why does Satan do that? He's a great deceiver, but why does he do that? So he can control humanity, okay? It's about control. And this is the Babylonian system that we live in. So if you go back and you study Revelation, and more importantly, one of the greatest prophets that ever lived, Daniel, okay, he described a prophecy 2,500 years ago, David. So 2,500 years ago, King Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the world, okay, the king of the world, had this incredible dream that freaked him out. And he's like, he blows his mind. He doesn't know what it means. And so he gets together all the soothsayers, all his wise men, and even his prophets. And he says, I need to know interpretation of this dream because I know it's profound, but I don't know what it means. And if you don't tell me what the dream means, I'm going to kill you all by morning. Okay, so this is
he drives a hard bargain.
Yeah, like he goes, and he goes, I'm not even going to tell you what my dream was. You just need to tell me what you need to give me the interpretation. I'm not even going to tell you what it is. And so if you don't tell me, I'm going to kill you all. And so what Daniel says, King, give me till morning. Let me pray on it. Let me ask my God, right? And so he gets on his knees. He prays all night. And he steps up first thing in the morning. He goes, King, I have the interpretation to your dream. David, he interpreted the statue of Daniel, the King Nebuchadnezzar, the statue of Daniel, Daniel 2 prophecy that stands today.
Yeah, the levels of the statue, right?
Oh, yes, exactly. So it's mind-blowing because that statue, that prophecy predicted Babylon, and he said, King Nebuchadnezzar, you are the golden head. You are the golden head of this statue. Followed your kingdom will be the kingdom of Persia, the kingdom of Greece, the kingdom of Rome, the papacy, and then the United States. David, he predicted 2,500 years.
Hold on, the United States is the feet, right? The feet with the clay and the iron, or what is it?
Yes, yeah, the feet. And so the feet are basically made of clay and iron, which don't bind. Okay, and so what is the statue of Daniel? Okay, it's basically describing Babylon. Babylon, if you read Revelation 12, Babylon the Great. Okay, and Revelation 12 says the great has fallen. Okay,
and then that's what we're experiencing now in the United States.
No, we're about to watch it. Okay, we are, David. This is like coolest part. Is I wanted to talk. I'm so blessed to speak with you because we're going to watch, Dave, this year, that 2,500 year prophecy, that statue falls. We are going to see that statue go down. So the prophecy of Daniel describes all the kingdoms that ever existed. Okay,
we'll see it this year, you're saying?
Yes, in the next possibly 60 days, before the end of June, possibly.
Holy cow. So yeah, because you said you gave a time point of May 14th to June 21st.
Right.
And that a lot of, I know we're already in the, and I call it, the Great Awakening, that coincides with the Great Exposing. Everything's being exposed right now.
Yes.
Hunter's laptop emails are all over the internet now. I mean, everything's being exposed. Everyone knows what's going on. Dinesh D'Souza's movie. So what do you see happening between now May 14th and June 21st?
So why is this happening, David? So why is this happening now? Okay, so God is a God of time and seasons. Okay, this is what I've learned. This is like I've learned things over the years. I'm not a prophet, but I hear things. I write things down. I listen to some of his other prophets and see if it makes sense to what I'm seeing. And then more importantly, I do something that's unique that no one else does in the world. I look at gold. And I can see its pattern. When gold is going up, that's them losing control. When gold is going down, they're in control. Okay. So gold just went down, the cryptos, right? So they were in control. This is the final washout that we just saw. But notice what happened. Go look at your charts. I don't know if you ever looked at charts and understand what charts look like. But if you go look at the charts on cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin, for example, and gold and silver, okay? What did they do, David? They fell and they dropped into May 14th. Okay.
So explain that to someone like me that I don't understand.
Okay, so what they did is they fell down, so you dropped in price. Okay. So you had gold and silver and cryptocurrencies falling in price.
On May 14th?
No, for the past 2 weeks.
Right.
All of May. Okay. And so what they did is they finished out it's like the death of one cycle and then the birth of another.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like the crux. It's like you draw a line in the sand. This line is, the old world, and then this line, and then the other side of the line is the new world.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so May 14th, you can literally draw a line in the sand delineating the finishing of the old and the birth of the new.
Wow.
So you can now look at the silver chart and see that it, immediately after that time point this week it jumped up. Okay, and so this weekend, this past weekend, last week as it ended, and this weekend is going to be a line in the sand for all eternity. That was the turning point between the old world and the new, and all we're waiting for right now is this historic moment in time. So if you read Proverbs 13:22, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous, okay? And so that's the money system. But there's also something written in the Bible, it's Isaiah 61, the year of the Lord's favor. So this is this year. I'll explain to you why, but this is the most important part is Isaiah 61. It says the day of the Lord's vengeance, okay? When God, so back to that Daniel statue, right? So,
but hold on. Let me ask you this just to clarify. So right now, between May 14th and June 21st, we're going to see the destroying of the old guard. Basically,
yes.
People are going to get scared because the economy is going to be crashing. Things are going to be going south. People are going to be freaking out. But really, it's meant to happen. It has to happen this way. It's the destroying of the old system.
Babylon.
Guard.
Babylon. It's the fall.
Right. And in
Babylon.
order for us to rebuild, this has to be done and put away with.
Correct. That's exactly, you said it perfectly, David. That's exactly it, because the old cannot stand in a God's kingdom. Okay, you read the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come. Thy kingdom, God's kingdom, come. He's bringing his heaven to earth, so heaven's approaching. Okay, so we're seeing, and in a godly kingdom, what do you have, David? More than enough. Okay, there's
Correct.
no lack. Okay, there's more than enough. So we're at a moment in time, and all we're waiting for. So when you go back to that prophecy of Daniel, this is easy for you to for your viewers to listen and understand, because that prophecy of Daniel, basically, when Daniel finished speaking the prophecy, Nebuchadnezzar fell to his knees. The king of Babylon fell to his knees and freaked out, because he knew, when you hear the truth, you know it. And he described it so clearly. So what did the king do? He raised Daniel to be the second in command of all of Babylon. So that's like vice president of the world.
Yeah.
In 24, from death to the second in command of all of Babylon. So my point being is, it took, how long did that take, David? 1 day. So when you read Isaiah 61, the year of the Lord's favor and the day of his vengeance.
So what do you expect to see between now, May 14th and June? What should we expect?
Okay, so what I would, and I'm using May, let me explain to you and your viewers why June 21 is so important. And also there's a very important date, June 6th.
It's the longest day.
Right, exactly. That's exactly. So what's happening? You mentioned Hunter Biden's laptops. Like you mentioned the laptop and all this information, all this stuff coming out. Okay, so longest day means what? The day of most light.
Correct.
So let me ask you a question, David. What does light do to darkness? When you shine a spotlight on dark, it exposes it. Exactly. Right. So what you're seeing right now is God's a God of time and seasons, okay? So before the longest day of the year, or by the longest day of the year, June 21, a giant spotlight will be will hit, expose all the darkness.
So we're going to see everything get exposed now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's happening already. It's happening.
No, but we haven't seen, because remember, when God moves, the world will know. Okay, like when God created things, David, it was like 6 days and he created everything.
Right.
Okay,
yeah.
So when he moves, like the Red Sea, he moved and the Red Sea parted, the earth shook, the ground went crazy. Like, could you imagine being at the Red Sea when all this went down? But 12 hours before that, Israel was screwed, right? They thought they were dead because they had a Red Sea behind them, Pharaoh coming at them with the chariots and swords, right? And spears, and mountains on the left and right side of them. It looked hopeless. So does it look hopeless right now?
Yeah,
if you watch a mainstream media, absolutely it does, right? The world looks horrible. And that's when God shows up. See, he takes it to the extreme to show that only he can.
Like the nosedive of the plane, and then we're about to hit, and then
right, you know, or no, or just before you hit the ground, a giant hole opens up and you go through the ground and come up, like something impossible, because that's just what it would be. Like, it's like, rather than hitting the ground, the earth opens up, there's a huge hole there. You go through the hole and you come out the other side. You see what I'm saying? Like,
I love it.
And that's an impossible thing. But that's what's going to happen. It's going to be an impossible thing, because God's going to make the impossible possible. So, and this is the thing, through all of his prophets, David, and through things that I've, trying to understand, he's not spoken two things. Through not one of the prophets, he has spoken what the event is, or the events will be. Okay. So no one knows the events or the event that's about to happen. Okay. Because it's a secret.
So an event is going to happen between May 14th and June 21st.
It's supposed to, yes. And the furthest you can drag this out to be would be the
but
end.
It will seem, hold on, but it'll seem like a bad event, right? It'll seem like something that's just, I mean.
Well, it'll be this. Okay, so a biblical event would be massive earthquakes going off across the world. Okay, volcanoes popping off everywhere. Okay, so it's going to be something that man cannot do. It's going to be, when it happens, it's going to be crystal clear that there's a God. The news stations will be forced to report, and things like this do not happen. This is beyond unusual. This is biblical. There must be a God. They're going to state things that are so crazy, but they're going to be forced to say it, because God's going to force them to speak it. Because they don't want to say these things, right? But they're going to be forced to speak these things, because the events that are about to happen are going to be so historic. That's why, for example, like 45, everybody's like, why is he not back yet? Because Isaiah 61 hasn't happened yet.
Got you.
See, until the day of the Lord's vengeance occurs, until that day occurs, nothing changes. Because even if you went back tomorrow, if he was back today, right?
So we're going to be looking for some kind of event between now and June 21st.
Yes,
biblical.
Yeah. And so, because we're in the year of the Lord's favor, right? So the year of the Lord's favor began on Rosh Hashanah, which was not January 1st. Rosh Hashanah is God's calendar. See, so God has his calendar, and then there's man's calendar. Okay, so God's calendar starts on Rosh Hashanah, which is September 6th. So it changes every year, but last year it was September 6th. And so September 6th started the new year, God's new year.
Okay.
So the day of the Lord's vengeance, based on my understanding of the light concept, right? The maximum point of lightness, maximum point of the day with the most amount of light would be June 21. So in my heart, I believe we're going to see the day of the Lord's vengeance between today and June 21.
People will hold your feet to the fire for predictions,
Yeah, no, I know. And so the furthest, that's why I want to extend this. Now I want to say, if it doesn't happen by June 21, it will happen in this year, This year ends on September 21, because that's the end of God's year. Right. Okay. So we're in the year of Jubilee. So the two things I said God's not going to give us, he's not going to give us the event, and he's not going to give us the day of his vengeance. Just like when you read the Bible, it says, no one knows the day or the hour of the return of my son. And he means that we're going to know the year Christ is going to return. Okay. We're not going to know the day or the hour. And the reason we don't know the day or the hour, and the reason it's a secret, and the reason the event is a secret, is because the prophecy that I got was, some things must remain hidden in my heart, so that the enemy will be caught unaware. Okay, so he's playing chess on these people, and he's got all his pieces lined up, but no one knows that last move God's got to literally and utterly destroy these people.
If you see what's happening right now with Elon, it's almost like now this is just my opinion. I'm going to talk about it more tomorrow morning, but I feel like Elon is also doing some great exposing. And I think he was one of their boys, the Black Hats boys. And then all of a sudden, like a pit bull turned on him. And here we are with this. Now they're going after him like gangbusters, like they're ready to lynch him, because he's coming out and exposing everything that big tech is. And I think and that's just the beginning. And that's just happening right now in this time frame that you're talking about. And imagine what's going to happen. I mean, every day is exciting. Imagine what's going to happen today, tomorrow, the next day, a week from now, 2 weeks from now. I mean, this is getting crazy.
Yeah. Right, you know, and so I look at the chart. So then I layer, so I take the extra layer on that. I look at the cycle chart. So to me, what's showing is like next Friday potentially, right? We could start seeing fireworks. Things will start to happen late next week as we head into June. So the charts are showing that gold and silver start to jump vertical, right? So the question is why? What's happening, right? So cycles precede events, which means that the cycle already says gold and silver are jumping vertical in June. My question is what's happening to cause it? Okay. See, so that's what a cycle can predict which direction gold and silver go. And if they're going up, the question is what's happening in the world to cause that.
Got you. Right.
So they just like gold and silver dropped just now with cryptos, right? And then they hit the major delineating point at May 14th weekend, and then you're seeing everything starting to turn up now, right? So it's this crazy time point in the world where the old is dying and the new is birthed, right? And so back to the story, prophetic. These are biblical times, and so the event that's about to happen. And so another biblical thing that you can consider is what's called Leviticus 25. And let me just read that to you. And Leviticus 25, verse 10, it says, "And you shall consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants."
Oh, beautiful.
Okay, so why is it the 50th year? Okay, so let's go through that.
Are we in the 50th year right now?
Yes, this is the 50th year. So I'll give you 3 reasons why. And the biggest reason was abortion, okay? So Roe v. Wade was argued in the Supreme Court, was first argued in the Supreme Court, December 13th, 1971.
50 years ago.
Yeah, okay. That same year, on August 15th, 1971, Nixon took us off the gold standard. So he detached gold.
The same year, 1971.
71. And that same year, David, Klaus Schwab started the World Economic Forum.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow. So everything is like a time point. Like
Yeah. So what? And this is how it went.
But I know the occult also goes by this, right?
But that's why they created cryptocurrencies, because they knew that God one day is going to intervene. And so when God intervenes, all the money they created, because energy doesn't disappear.
Wait. So cryptocurrencies are not good. Don't get into it.
No, right now they're good. It's like when the dollar was created. There's nothing wrong with the dollar, okay? It's when they detach it. It's when the man intervenes. So it's when satanic people, evil people intervene, they corrupt it. Okay. It's like there is nothing wrong with marriage, right? Until the state got involved.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Everything's made with a good purpose. When God's involved, it's good. And when man intervenes, the evil side of man intervenes, they corrupt it. So evil always intervenes in everything and corrupts the good. So like the dollar was good because it allowed us to buy things and transact. It's when they detached it from gold, allowed them to create it to infinity. And so now they create money out of thin air to infinity. It took a true statistic. It took 100 years to make the first $1 trillion.
Interesting.
And the market crash of March 2020, which I predicted was going to happen in advance, that crash on the weekend of the crash, but the bottom, they created $7 trillion over the weekend.
Interesting.
To push the stock market back up.
Wow.
So so everything in the markets is smoke and mirrors. Okay, so every price, like they look at the price of a house, the price of a stock market, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all Babylonian money. It's all fake money made out of thin air. And so when the bubble bursts, my friend Greg Hunter says, fraud ends quick, right? So when the bubble bursts, all heck breaks loose. So when this statue of Daniel falls, okay, that's going to be the marking on this earth of God intervening, and we're going to see gold and silver do a moonshot. Okay, why? Because it's going to break free of decades of generational price manipulation. Okay, because the gold and silver are mine, saith the Lord. And silver, as good as gold is, silver is gold on steroids. And that was coined by Jim St. Clair. So the point being,
but you have to have it. You have to
physically
have it,
yes, yeah,
physically have the gold and silver. Correct.
Right. You're gonna see. So Haggai, Matthew states blessings are 30, 60, and 100-fold. So you can see an ounce of gold, right, go from like where it is right now, $20, right, and so it'll easily go to 3 digits by this summer. I'm thinking easily, and by next year, late this year, or within 2 years, you're talking maybe $2,000-3,000 an ounce per silver coin. Wow. And then that's just the start. Because silver ultimately becomes priceless. It might be 10, 20, 30,000 an ounce because of how much money that they've created. So remember, Proverbs 13:22 states the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. So energy doesn't disappear. it's transferred. And so right now they knew that God at some point is going to intervene. So they create cryptocurrencies in Bitcoin, because if there was no cryptocurrencies, all the money would go into gold and silver. Now it's like a Y in the road, right? So you're going to half go off to gold and silver and the other half go off to cryptocurrencies. But there's nothing wrong with cryptocurrencies right now. There's nothing wrong with them.
You hear Russia is, it's going back to gold. China, it's going to follow. We've heard Trump has put safeties in place, that he's confiscated gold, that it's here in America. We've heard all this. Is there truth to that from what you know?
Right. But see, the thing is that all of it can be true. And as long as Babylon stands, David, nothing will ever change.
It needs to fall. Babylon needs to fall. So everyone watching this, you got to understand this has got to happen in order for us to go into the light, into the new system, correct?
Exactly correct. And the only way this will happen is by an act of God. Because the glory goes to God. You see, God's a jealous God. He loves his creation. He loves you, David. He loves your viewers. He loves me.
Sometimes.
Well, he loves Dave. He loves you. He hates the sin. Right? He'll always love you. He hates the sin. He loves the sinner, hates the sin.
I've learned some lessons.
Right, we all do. Like David, not one of us, like Jesus walked, when they were going to stone that lady, right? And what did Jesus picks up the rock? He goes, "He who hasn't sinned, throw the first stone."
Yes,
and they all walked away, right?
Right.
Why? Because we're all sinners, okay?
Right. Yeah. Believe me.
We're all sinners. The goal for us is to sin no more, as Jesus said, right?
Right.
So we need to.
I'm working on that.
We try to do our best every day. That's what we try to do. We do our best every single day. But these evil ones, trust me, there's nothing that they're doing, David, that is of God. These people are sick people.
Oh yeah, I know.
The things that are going to come out.
I wish we can go into detail here on FluffTube, but we can't. But we both know what they're guilty of, and it's heinous crimes against humanity. But we'll leave it at that.
And all of that information is going to come out, David.
Yeah.
All of it. And people are going to be throwing up. Your viewers are going to be throwing up, sick to their stomach when they find out what they've been doing.
Oh, I can't sleep at night sometimes when I think about it. I'm not going to go into detail, but I've seen some stuff and I've heard some stuff, and I've wanted to make a difference in this world and stand for truth. My first video that I did, the viral video, was talking about the crimes against humanity, and that's what launched all this. And so I just embraced it. But I can't sleep at night.
Yeah, especially when you see when you actually seen some of the stuff, or seen some videos. It's really disgusting what they've done. No one really knows all the details of what they've done. But the crazy part is all this is going to come out, David.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy part. And so this is the fall. They're going to their system is going to fall. So the Daniel Revelation 18, it says, Babylon, Babylon the Great has fallen. And actually, I want to answer this for you and your viewers. This might help. That statue that you've seen of the Daniel 2 prophecy. See what that is. What is that statue? It's not a place. It's a control system. Okay, so the deep state, so you've got all these people around the world that are all interlaced and they all work together as one. Okay, so you've got Klaus Schwab starts at World Economic Forum, and then you've got people like billionaires like Soros and Gates and all these others that pay, that have all this money. They all work together as one to basically fund this system around the world. So it goes from the Vatican, China, Germany, United States.
Right.
So it's a network all across the world. So it's a control network all around the world. And so that's what Babylon is.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So once this starts happening, if you think of the New World Order, you think of Klaus Schwab. I think about him. I think he's like the evil emperor in Star Wars with the cloak around it. You know what I mean? That's how I see him. With all this happening, are you saying that we are going to see them go down in flames?
Oh yeah. It's not only that. The prophetic word is they lose all their finances before all this happens. They actually know what happened. They're going to watch themselves. They're going to watch themselves.
So they've seen this coming, and so that's why they were they'd see that this time point,
They don't see it coming. Satan knows it's coming.
Well,
but they
what
don't.
I'm saying is that's why they're heading us into the Great Reset. That's why they want to steer us into the Great Reset, right?
Yes. Okay. So when you read the Bible, there's two things in the Bible. There's the harlot and the beast.
Okay.
Okay, so this will help answer that, give you clarity on what you're asking. Okay, so in the Bible, when you read, it talks about the harlot, and the harlot is written on her forehead, Babylon, Babylon the Great. That's written on the harlot's forehead. So that's basically a control system around the world. One example of that is the Statue of Liberty, which is a Muslim woman, has nothing to do with liberty. And so they have these statues all around around the world, but they're just basically they're symbols for them, not for us, that they trick us to like enjoy or whatever else, right? And you'll look at Washington D.C. This is a serious thing. You look at the streets of Washington D.C. They all come out 33-degree angles from the White House. Okay,
right,
because it's all built by the Masons, right?
Right.
And so all of this is all Babylon that we're watching, go off around the world. It's just a massive system around the world. There's the same kind of design you can see built at the Vatican. Where the Vatican is, there's this massive key that they have there. So all these symbols are built off across the world, and they have these obelisks as well too, certain heights because they're
the symbolism is all over DC. It's all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all over the world. And so what's happened? So how did this come to be? I can make this very simple for you to understand, and it played out with what happened with Roe v. Wade. Okay, so the United States was founded under God. So we have a covenant with God. And we had to create the Constitution because all men are created equal. That's out of the Bible. Okay. Right. So the United States has a covenant with God. Then what happened 50 years ago, David? We turned our back to God. We allowed the killing of his creation. So when you allow that, what does God do? He turned his back on us. So God actually allowed this to happen. He wanted us to see what it's like, a world without God.
A godless nation.
A godless nation, right? And this is what we're seeing now. So he allowed this all to happen, but remember, he still loves us. He loves his creation. But he's a God of lessons, right? He's going to teach us a lesson. He's long suffering. So he's teaching us a lesson. And now, so this past year and a half, right? We've seen, and they've exposed their cards basically, right? They've exposed their cards, how sick, what they're, like you said, they were trying to push this great reset, the 𝗀𝗃 agenda. So they've exposed their cards, they're showing us what they're trying to do. But the issue for them is, that we know that there's a God, right? They don't believe it. They think, their God is God. He's a lowercase g. He was the one that God kicked out of heaven and a third of the angels. Yeah. Okay, so these are biblical times. We battle not against flesh and blood, but about principalities. And a principality is a government in evil places. Okay, and so now to go back to answer your question, the harlot versus the beast. So when you read Revelation 17, and I'll read it to you here. I saw a woman, a harlot, sitting on a scarlet beast that was full of blasphemous names, and it had 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, the 7 heads are the 7 mountains of which the woman is seated. So the 7 mountains. So it all comes back to money. So when you detach gold from the dollar, you can make as much money as you want. And therefore it comes that saying, money can buy anybody and everything. Everything has a price. You with me? Right. And if it doesn't have a price, we'll give you a little, you go to a little party in Washington, and next thing you wake up with a picture on your chest, and so then they'll blackmail you. But the point is, either way, the money is the control mechanism. Money has allowed the harlot, the beast, the Daniel statue, to control the church, to control the family system, to control the education system, to control the government, to control the entertainment and the media. Okay, and thus they control all, and it's all controlled via money because it's all bribes and payouts.
Well, yeah. So right now everything is a captured operation. Everything. I mean, I've talked to Juanito about this, and everything, even the church, school systems, and we're seeing it everywhere. I mean, the curriculum they're trying to teach in schools, everything, but it's also in the church. Can you go more about that? Can you dive deeper into that?
Well, right. See, the church itself, they can control the church through the 501c3, right? So everything, it's like a medical doctor, or when I was a doctor, right? It's like, I knew this was coming years ago. So if you don't do a certain thing, they're going to pull your license. If you don't do a certain thing, they're going to pull your 501c3. You see, so they can control you with the licenses. See, a license by definition is an ability of a government to do an illegal act. If you the definition of a license, it's a definition to do an illegal act. The reason there was a marriage license, do you know why they started a marriage license? It allowed a white man to marry a black woman.
Say that again. I didn't know that was the reason.
Yes, that was the origin of a marriage license. Because years ago, in the time when they were, you know, when there was a slavery, right? When they had slavery, the men still wanted women, right? So they created a marriage license so a white man could marry a black woman. So that's what the start of a marriage license was.
Okay.
During the time of slavery.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And then the license continued on, and so that's all a license does is allows them to write laws and then control it, so they can break laws with licenses. Because there's a license.
And the first license
there's
you
a license
get
to
is
do
when
that.
you're born.
There's a license to do that.
But the first license you really get is where someone is like your birth certificate, right? You belong to the state, right?
Yes,
that's how that works.
Right. The mother signs the birth certificate, turning you over to the state. And how did that all happen? The mother has to do it, not the father. The mother has to do that. And why? Because at the time of marriage, right? Also it's tied in with the marriage. The marriage certificate is supposed to be a contract between you, your husband, or your wife, and God, right? Now the state intervenes. So the state is a third-party interloper to your marriage. The state is a silent third-party interloper to your marriage.
So I would guess that you're all about doing the sovereign citizen thing.
Well, you know, yes and no, but it doesn't change anything, because how do you enforce it, right? You can be 100% right about everything, but how do you enforce it when the goon squad shows up?
Right. That's what I'm worried about. I have someone coming on to talk about that, and I'm like, wait, hold on. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to talk about it, because the last thing I need is a SWAT team busting through my door and taking me down and, you know, whatever. I don't see enough people doing it.
So the solution, the very simple solution, and he's up there, it's called God, right? The solution is God, right? Faith, let the angels protect you, right? Let God protect you. Have faith in the word, have faith in God. And so what we're about to see is Babylon the Great has fallen. And this is where the BRICS nations, and the way it's going to play out is you're going to have Russia, China, even though they may like or not like each other, even though China is working with the United States to try to take it down, they still hate it because they want to control it. So they're going to come together. You know, your enemy's enemy is my friend.
So when all this gets taken, when our old system crumbles, the safeties that Trump put in place are going to be very important.
The safety that
45 put in place before. That's a topic I talk about with Juanito all the time, and that's where those safeties would come in place, because otherwise we would just fall, right?
See, so these people are so when Babylon falls, nothing can stand, because the new kingdom cannot have these statues standing. The new kingdom cannot have Washington standing. The new kingdom cannot have any of these things standing as they are, because the new kingdom is a new kingdom.
And look at Washington. Look at Washington right now. It's a prison. It's boarded up, gated off. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, so all of this is happening.
Yeah, and all of this is going to play into the fall of the harlot, or the fall of the harlot, or the fall is the same as the fall of Babylon, is the same as a 50-year Jubilee Leviticus cycle. See, what they did, if you compare this to Pharaoh and Israel knew they were enslaved because they had chains on, right? The only difference that happened this time around, David, as stupid as Satan is, you know, because he can't beat God, he's a little sharper this time, and he created money out of thin air. He enslaved humanity with the money system, with things called mortgages and student loans and credit cards, right? So the best way to enslave somebody is to make them think they're free. So a 30-year mortgage basically means for the next 30 years, you're going to work for the guys that created the money out of thin air. So now they've got you enslaved. You just don't know it. So the whole Babylonian system is an enslavement system to control humanity. It's all about control, control, control. And that's what their whole agenda is.
And then you never really own anything anyway, because you pay off your mortgage, you have property taxes.
Exactly.
And you don't pay those, you're going to go to the, it's all the same.
Right. And then it's like, oh, you pay off your house. Well, then you want to, or, you buy the next house. So then you're always in debt. It's like, well, that house it's old now. I want to buy another house. So you buy another house, and now you have another mortgage. See what I'm saying? So basically you go through life and you're always in debt. You're always owing them. And
no matter how much,
not a world of not enough.
Paying taxes, something.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's just like Nikola Tesla, right? I'm not talking a Tesla car, Elon Musk. I'm talking Nikola Tesla, okay? Google him, okay? He created free energy. Free energy. Okay. He could power an entire city on 2 cents a year. Okay, but why is that not allowed in the Babylonian system? Because you're supposed to have meters coming out of you, right? If you have a meter coming out of you, you got to pay for your gas, got to pay for your electric, got to pay for your utility bills. Then you have to keep going to work to keep working because they want you to keep working. Well, that's enslavement. Okay, so what's coming is a world of more than enough. Okay, so when I talk about gold and silver, God's going to raise His money to numbers you can't imagine. Why? Because He's going to bless His bride. Okay, we're going to see blessings like you've never seen before, but it's only for those, the blessings are going to for the people that actually prepared, right? And so why do we need money? Back to your initial statement, because money allows us to build a church. You can go buy land, you can put together massive, buildings to put mass amount of people together. But even what's going to happen is this new churches, like these stadiums that they built for soccer and football, you're going to see worship going off and starting this year in those places. It's going to be intensely awesome. So all those hills that I described, they all fall. And then you're going to get a new church system, a new family startup of a new family, a new education system, a new government startup. Like there will no longer be, beginning this year, David, mark my words, a two-party system.
At the end of this year, there will not be a two-party system. You're going down saying that.
System,
I agree with you. I agree
David,
with you.
I'm going to explain to you a one-party system under 45 this year. Under 45, and 45 will be under God. This is what's coming to the United States. So God the Father is in charge. 45, his David is working for him, and there's a one-party system, all working as one to do one thing, to rebuild what God destroyed this year.
So you're excited.
Dave, this is going to be the greatest year. This is going to be one of the hugest time points in human history in thousands of years. In thousands of years, we're about to see the things that you can't even imagine go off this year. And all of it is delineated by the Isaiah 61 moment, the day of the Lord's vengeance. And so by the end of this
I can't
year,
wait to see all the bad actors go down. I mean, I just can't wait.
But there's going to be a few that get tucked away, because remember, this is now the whole other level of conversation.
Yeah.
But we're not stopping Revelation, okay? So this is the third seal that's about to happen. So there's a part in the historic Bible when I've heard that saying, the writing on the wall. Ever hear that saying? And yeah. So that was the time of Belshazzar, and God showed up and wrote on the wall, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. And it freaked Belshazzar out, because he he literally saw a hand come out and write on the wall at a party when they were desecrating all the golden things from the temple. They were drinking out and partying, right? This is from the temple. And so so he freaked out, and Belshazzar calls up Daniel, and Daniel is still at that time, and he comes up, and he hasn't done much at the time because this was a new king, and he read the writing on the wall. And the writing was, he goes, if you don't, I'm only going to tell you the truth. And if you don't want to hear it, tell me, but I will tell you the truth that's on there. If you don't want to hear it, then don't tell me, because I want to hear it. So the writing was, your king, you've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Our financial system has been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Meaning where the scales were tipped completely to one side. Okay, like the scale system. Mm-hmm. Okay, so all the money is paper and fake. God's money is worthless. So you've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Your kingdom has come to an end, and will be given to the Medes and the Persians. And that night Belshazzar died. And the Medes King Darius came in and took over his kingdom on that night. And that was one day.
I love it.
So we're about to see this moment in time. So their kingdom has come to an end. Their Babylon has come to an end, and will be given to God's church. And so this is the third seal of Revelation. We're in Revelations ready. This is the third seal. It's a black horse, which represents death to them. And scales. The rider has scales in his hand. So there's scales is you've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. And this is the Proverbs 13:22, the wealth of the sinner is stored up for the righteous. And so we're going to see a historic financial event go down. And I want to have a little fun with you, because you're going to love this. I don't know if you watched my video, but the horse race that just went down, right?
The horse race? Strike It Rich?
strike it rich, right?
Yeah.
Rich strike, reverse it, strike it rich. Okay.
Okay,
The last time, go ahead.
Go into this. This is important.
Yeah, this is so cool because when it happened, God said, I heard in my head, you need to research this because I just did something incredible. I'm like, oh, because I knew when I saw that race coming.
I love that God loves horse racing.
Yeah, no, and I never watch horse racing. I literally sit down at lunch with my wife, and the horse races are on at the restaurant. I'm like, okay, well, I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know it was a Kentucky Derby. I had no idea.
Listen, horse racing, tennis, and boxing. Those are my 3 favorite sports.
Yeah, so it's truly insane, right? But so it foreshadowed. So this event, the Kentucky Derby, foreshadowed the events of 2022. And here's what it basically foreshadowing. So first off, the horse's name was Rich Strike. Remember, infinity is a circle H, so you can reverse it. So strike it rich, just reverse it. Okay. So strike it rich this year, 2022. The last time, strike it rich came from the very back and became the biggest underdog champion since 1913. David, the Federal Reserve System was founded in 1913.
Oh my gosh.
And this blew my mind because we're heading into the greatest point in human history, right? So like this would be equivalent. What's about to happen is, remember Leviticus, right? Thou shalt consecrate the 50th year, proclaim liberty throughout the land and all of its inhabitants, right? So what happened at the Red Sea? Israel was released from bondage. Well, we're about to be released from bondage. Where did it happen, David? At the Red Sea. When God opened the sea, Pharaoh went in, and then God closed the Red Sea on Pharaoh and all of his army, and he killed him, destroyed him, okay? Get what I'm saying? The Red Sea. Guess what color the rider was?
Red.
Red.
I love it. I love it.
So it's just foreshadowing. It's God having a little fun.
Yeah. I love it. Bo, I'm going to call it there. I got to jump on with Judge Napolitano now. I appreciate you coming on, Bo, Polny, folks. Where can people find you?
My website, 𝗀𝗲2020forecast.com. So GOLD2020forecast.com. Just go to my website. There's some good information there. I think your viewers will really enjoy. And then you can also just put my name in on YouTube, and almost all the most recent videos we stick on YouTube as well there, just like you do as well, David.
Awesome.
So we have information there.
I'm going to go ahead and premiere this tonight on FluffTube. I think we did well.
Yep.
And I would love to have you on again, Bo, as we get closer to the event.
Yes, it's going to be awesome, David. Historic days. This is going to be awesome. So like, there's nothing to fear. God's got this, okay? God is in complete control. Turn off your TVs. The world's going to know when God moved because everything's going to shake, okay? The internet's going to go down. There's going to be no internet. Everything goes black. It's like the death of the United States, like with a baptism. You die and then you're reborn. So it's going to be horrible for some, because it's going to look bad when all these things happen, okay? But that's God intervening, and then we're reborn in a new. And then you see, then you're going to see 45 return. It all happens this year. We're going to be, then all these, the left and the right, the political system comes together as one because so horrible what happened. They have to come together to as one to rebuild, to fix it, because it's so crazy what just happened. So,
I love it.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to call
God
it
bless
there,
you.
and I'll keep in touch with you.
Be well. Bless. Love you, man.
God bless. Bye-bye.
God bless.